Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today, as we're now at the beginning of December, so most of our Christmas cards and things will probably be made, but we always have bits and pieces over. I thought I would show you what you can do to make a few quick cards very simply using a piece of designer series paper and your choice of what you choose. I'm using this lovely Whimsy and Wonder because I love the trees on this, and I've used a piece which is 5 inches, so 5 inches by 12 inches. That's all I've used, and I've made 4 cards out of it. So I thought I'd show you a way of using up little bits and pieces of scrap. I've done a lot of the preparation work already, so I need to just turn around, and we're using Misty Moonlight as a base, and we're using some soft succulent, because I think Misty Moonlight and soft succulent go really well together, and we're just sort of using bits and pieces. So I've got 2 bases of the Misty Moonlight. I've got a base of soft succulent, and then I've just done a different sort of layering system. So I'm going to put sort of some of these bits out so we can see how we're sort of working with them. So what I've done with one of these is I have cut a basic white 1/4 inch smaller. So we're using smaller pieces. So I've then cut a piece of the soft succulent 1/4 inch smaller. Okay, so whatever size you're doing it, just cut each piece 1/4 inch smaller. And then I've put my piece of designer series paper 1/4 inch smaller. So you've got your layers coming up in 2 different colors. Then to tone it in, I've used 1 stamp set, which is now in the offers now, so you can get it at a reduced price, which is the Stars Are Shining. Really love this one. Love the punch that goes with it. But the sentiments are beautiful. Celebrate the wonder, be merry and bright, twinkle, twinkle, Christmas star, the stars are shining brightly, and joy to the world. So I have used Celebrate the Wonder, and I've mounted this on, stamped it in the Misty Moonlight, and then mounted it on a little bit of the Misty Moonlight to sort of pick those colours up. So that's one way of doing it. Then I've got another one which I have taken a little bit. So this one on here, let me move this one out of the way. I haven't glued anything down, but I will sort of bring it back afterwards so you can see. So that's sort of one idea. Are we still in on there? Just about. The second one is to do, again, to have your mat, and this time we're taking the piece 1/2 inch, or you can even do it 3/4 inch smaller in your basic white. Then we're going to take again our piece of soft succulent and take that again 1/2 or 3/4 inch smaller. So you've got very wide mats on here. Then you can put a little tiny piece. Now this piece, I've only done it 1/4 inch smaller because what I wanted to do was to have that base, and I wanted the paper to stand out a bit, so I've done it that way. And on this one we can have a Be Merry and Bright, and we can put that in wherever we want, so between these trees, because as you cut it you'll have different parts. So I'd probably put it down at the bottom a bit on there. And so you've got that sort of look. So you don't have to use large pieces of, let's bring this back in. You don't have to use large pieces of your designer series paper. If you've got little scrappy pieces over, just cut your mount smaller and the paper is your focal point. So with this, you could put some ribbon down on there. You could put something to brighten it up. I think it just works as it is, because you don't have to have, because all the mats are cut similarly, the paper is still working as the main focal point. So that's two ways of doing it. Let me just move that out of the way for now. I've then got another one in on here, and this is just using your soft succulent as your base, your whisper white coming down, which is 1/2 inch smaller, and then your piece of designer series paper 1/4 inch smaller. So you've got a wider back border, which is 1/2 inch. You've then got the mount, which is the basic white for the designer series paper, which is 1/4 inch. So play around with your measurements. And on this one, I've just done same sentiment, but I've just done joy to the world. I'm going to put it up on here on the top, because then those trees are showing. So that's 3 ways. Let me bring those back in. I'm not going to put them all together now. I'll do them later on, because otherwise it takes up too much time. But there are 3 ideas of layouts for cards which work very simply and easily. And you're using just little tiny pieces. So that's using your largest piece. But again, just by putting borders in, it gives different looks. And you can take a smaller piece by doing a larger border. Okay, so what happens when we've got, let me move those out of the way for now. We can bring them back in afterwards. So what happens when we've got just little pieces of scrap and things over? So I have got, these are literally just some off-cut pieces that I've got left over. So I cut this one out, but I realised that I had a little piece missing off the bottom, because that's where it was on the edge of the paper. So I didn't use it. This is just a little tiny scrap that I cut off the bottom of something. I've got this piece and I've got that piece. So let's have a look and see what we can do with putting bits and pieces together. So I'm going to take it with soft succulent as my base. I'm not giving measurements, because obviously if you are in America, the size of your cardstock is different to the UK. So what I've done is I've done a little strip. Now, really doesn't matter what size your strip is. This just happens to be, I've got this in centimetres. It happens to be 3.5 centimetres, which is, let me have a look on the other side in inches. It is 1.5 inches. So that just happened to be the strip that I had over from something. So I'm going to put that down here on that side to just give a little bit of a lift. Now, I'm going to stick these pieces down, because this is just playing around, putting cards together with what you've got left over. So you don't have to have large pieces. You can have your little scraps. You don't need to waste them. And for those last minute Christmas cards, so I'm just going to put that down with about 1/4 inch border. Doesn't need to be exact, but that will work out at about 1/4 inch border on there. Okay, so now we've got this. I've got this little tree, and I think I want to put the tree, I can have that just down on the bottom, maybe there. So let's get some of these in. I'm going to put that sort of across that way. I'm going to have this one down here sort of at the bottom. I'm going to have the tree coming up on here. So that can come right at the bottom. Oh, that's quite interesting. The way that's cut, I can actually almost line it up with there. So I'm going to do that with dimensionals, I think. And then we can have this little piece. We could turn it the other way round and maybe put it in somewhere else. Okay, so let me put this piece is going to come in about there, isn't it? So let's just put this on. Again, using your scraps up, you don't have to worry too much about where things go. It's a matter of just putting them on. So I'm going to have that on there, just at a bit of an angle to give that. I'm trying to keep a sort of the same border in on both sides on this. Then we're going to have this tree in, but I'm going to pop that one up with some dimensionals. So let me just get some dimensionals out. Just put them up with a couple of little ones, I think. Or I could put some larger ones. Bear with while I grab some dimensionals out of my pot. Right. So I can put some large ones in down on the bottom. One in the middle there, and then I'm going to put a little tiny one up at the top so that it's balanced a bit. Like that. Okay, so we can take this piece off, and again, if you've got little scraps of things, you know, just you can cut them out, you can do them in shapes and things. So this is going to come, I want to have it down at the bottom here, so it's still going to come right onto that bottom piece. But then it can come up so that it comes sort of into that top piece. We'll have this one down at the bottom here. Where are we going to have this one? This can just come in, I think, just straight across. Yes, we'll have two pieces like that. I'm going to put, sentiment-wise, let's have that joy to the world. So we'll have the joy to the world coming in like that. So this piece will have to come through. Yes, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and as I say, these are just little tiny weeny scraps. I haven't cut them down or done anything with them. I'm just working with them as they are. So I'm going to put this down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to put it in that way like that. This is going to come in, and I'm going to do the reverse side of it because there really isn't much of a tree left on that bit. So let's just pop this in down on here. So we'll have that, and I'm going to have it so that it goes just sort of the right distance in between on there. Then we can have this, which will cover that up a bit. And we'll put that up with dimensionals. So we can have, I'm going to do 2 large and 2 small. It's the nice thing about our dimensionals, you can sort of mix and match them, so you don't have to have them all at the all the same size if you don't want to, and by doing it that way it means that you've got enough to come over. So we'll have this just coming in on here, in on that centerpiece. So we've got all of those in here, and then what I would probably do is to just take some, let me have a look at my, just there we are, always the last one in. I'm going to take some of the rhinestones, or a rhinestone, and I'm going to have the largest one. So let's take one of our large rhinestones, and I'm going to put that on the top of the tree, just there. So that gives just a little bit of a twinkle to the top of the tree. I'm not going to put anything else on it, but that shows literally just with a pile of little tiny scraps that you've got over, you can make some quite pretty Christmas cards last minute, rather than, you know, getting rid of your paper when you've just got little scraps and things left over. So we've made 4 cards with a piece. Need to cut another sentiment for that one. So just with a sentiment on there. We've got this one, Be Merry and Bright. And we've got this one down in on here. So we've managed to get 4 cards quite easily just from one strip of designer series paper, which was 5 inches by the 12-inch length. So it just shows that you can use all sorts of different sizes of pieces of paper, of the designer series paper, and I've still got this left that I can do a little box or something like that with. So some different ideas for you. The only stamp set we used was the Stars Are Shining, and as I say, I will put a link down below to my shop. These are now reduced because we're now in the beginning of the winter sale time, so a lot of the things from the mini catalogue are being reduced. So have a look through and see if there's anything you missed that you want, and a nice way to make a few last minute cards. So thank you so much for watching me. As always, please stay safe and well, please be kind, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye bye.